Good morning, students. In last lecture, we studied about different properties of fluids. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about the fluid mechanics, that is fluid statics. Okay. So in first chapter, we studied about the fundamental concepts of fluids. That is, we already discussed about fluid. Fluid is of two types: gases and liquids are included in fluids, such as, for example, for air, helium, air, nitrogen are the gases, and liquids, water, oils, alcohols, etc. are the liquids. And we also discussed about the properties of fluids or properties of liquids or gases, that is compressibility, density, viscosity, surface tension, etc. in the first chapter. In this chapter, that is second chapter, fluid statics, we are going to discuss about the mechanics of the fluids, that is statics and dynamics. Statics, we are going to discuss about the stability, pressure and buoyancy about the fluids, and the dynamics, that means different types of flows related to the fluids. We already discussed about the different types of flows: laminar flow, turbulent flow, viscous flow, invisible flow, steady flow, unsteady flow, compressible, incompressible, or fluid dynamics rest of the courses, that is different types of flows. In this chapter, we are going to discuss about the pressure, that is statics, fluid statics. Okay, so let's start with the introduction. This chapter deals with the forces applied by fluids at rest or in rigid body motion. There is no relative motion between adjacent layers. In both instances, there will be no shearing stresses in the fluid, and the only forces that develop on the surface of the particles will be due to the pressure. The fluid property responsible for those forces is pressure, which is normal force exerted by a fluid per unit area. Thus, our principal concern is to investigate pressure and its variation throughout a fluid and the effect of pressure on submerged surfaces. That is, we are going to discuss about the pressure on the different bodies and the variation between the pressure. So let's start with the pressure. Pressure is defined as a normal force exerted by a fluid per unit area. We speak our pressure only when we deal with a gas or a liquid. The counterpart of the pressure is solids in normal stress. That means pressure is related to the gas or liquid. Since pressure is defined as force per unit, that means we can measure the force or pressure in force per unit area. It has the unit of newtons per square meter, that is pressure is measured in newton per meter square, which is called as a pascal. That is 1 pascal is equal to 1 newton per meter square. Okay, the pressure unit pascal is too small for pressures encountered in practice. Therefore, it multiplies kilopascal. 1 kilopascal is equal to 10 raised to 3 pascal, and megapascal, that is 1 megapascal is equal to 10 raised to 6 pascal, are commonly used. Okay. Other pressure units commonly used in practice, especially in Europe, are bar and standard atmosphere. In India, we can use Newton per meter square or Pascal, but in Europe, they are using bar and standard atmosphere. 1 bar is equal to 10 raised to 5 Pascal, that is equal to 0.1 megapascal or 100 kilopascal, and 1 atmosphere is equal to 1,01,325 Pascal, equal to 101.325 kilopascal, equal to 1.01325 bars. That is 1 atmosphere equal to 1.01325 bars. The actual pressure at a given position is called the absolute pressure. and it is measured relative to absolute vacuum, that is absolute zero pressure. Most pressure measuring devices, however, are calibrated to read zero in the atmosphere, and so they indicate the difference between the absolute pressure and the local atmospheric pressure. This difference is called the gauge pressure. Okay, pressure. Pressures below atmospheric pressure are called vacuum pressure and are measured by vacuum gauges that indicate the difference between the atmospheric pressure and the absolute pressure. Absolute, gauge, and vacuum pressures are all positive quantities and are related to each other by this formula. That means absolute pressure, atmospheric pressure, and gauge pressure. The formula gives the relation between these three pressures. Gauge pressure is equal to atmospheric absolute pressure minus atmospheric pressure, or vacuum pressure is equal to atmospheric pressure minus absolute pressure. Okay. In thermodynamics relations and tables, absolute pressure is almost always used. Throughout this course, the pressure P will denote absolute pressure unless specified otherwise. By this diagram, you can clear about the vacuum pressure, absolute pressure, and atmospheric pressure. In first diagram, we can see vacuum pressure plus absolute pressure equal to atmospheric pressure. Okay, and in second diagram, you can see gauge pressure plus atmospheric pressure equal to absolute pressure. Okay, pressure at point. Pressure is the compressive force per unit area and it gives the impression of being a factor. However, pressure at any point in a fluid is the same in all directions. That is, it has magnitude but not a specified direction, and thus it is a scalar quantity. This can be demonstrated by considering a small wedge-shaped fluid element that was obtained by removing a small triangular wedge of fluid from some arbitrary location within a fluid mass. Since we are considering the situation in which there are no shearing stresses, the only external forces acting on the wedge are due to the pressure and the weight. Okay, that means we are measuring the pressure at a specific point. Pressure and the weight are the major important factors. Now we can see pressure at specific point. Okay, for simplicity, the forces in the direction x direction are not shown and the z axis is taken as the vertical axis. So the weight acts in the negative z direction. Okay, we can see the diagram. Here we see the object and the different forces acting on it and the pressures exerted by different points. Pressure at a point. From Newton's second law, a force balance in the y and z directions gives. That means the force in the y and z directions. That is summation of Fy is equal to Py delta x delta z minus Ps delta x delta s sin theta equal to 0. Say it as a summation of Fz equal to Pz delta x delta y minus Ps delta x delta s cos theta minus lambda delta x delta y delta z divided by 2 equal to 0. This is equation B. Okay, these are the two equations by the conditions where Ps, Py and Pz are the average pressures on the faces. Lambda and rho are the fluid specific weight and density, where lambda is the specific weight and rho is the density. From the geometry, delta y is equal to delta s cos theta and delta z is equal to delta s sin theta. The last term in equation B drops out as delta x, delta y and delta z tends to 0 and the wedge becomes infinitesimal and thus the fluid element shrinks to a point. Okay, so thus substituting and simplifying the results, Py is equal to Ps, Pz is equal to Ps, or Py is equal to Ps is equal to Pz. Thus we can conclude that the pressure at a point in a fluid has the same magnitude in all directions. It can be shown in the absence of shear forces that this result is applicable to fluids in motion, rigid body motion, no relative motion between layers, as well as fluids at rest. This is the important result and it is known as Pascal law. After that, we are going to discuss about the variation of pressure. We already discussed about the pressure at specific point, okay, in all directions. From next, we are going to discuss about the variation of pressure, okay. So variation of pressure with depth. In diagram you can see pressure in a fluid increases with depth because more fluid rests on deeper layer, and the effect of this extra weight on a deeper layer is balanced by an increase in pressure. You can see the diagram at whenever the depth is more, the pressure will be increases. Okay, to obtain a relation for the variation of pressure with depth, consider a rectangular fluid element of height z, length delta x, and unit depth into the page in equilibrium. In diagram you can see obtaining a relation for the variation of pressure with depth. Rectangular fluid element of height z delta z and length delta x and unit depth into the page in equilibrium. Assuming the density of fluid rho to be constant, density we are going to discuss consider as a constant. A force balance in the vertical z direction gives, force gives in vertical direction z is delta fz equal to maz equal to 0, that is P2 delta x minus P1 delta x minus rho g delta x delta z equal to 0, where W is equal to mg equal to rho g delta x delta z is the weight of the fluid element. Dividing by delta x and rearranging gives delta P is equal to P2 minus P1 is equal to rho g delta z or lambda s delta z. Lambda s is equal to rho g is the specific weight of the fluid. Thus we conclude that the pressure difference between 2 points in a constant density fluid is proportional to the vertical distance delta z between the points and the density rho of the fluid. In other words, pressure in fluid increases linearly with depth. Okay, whenever in short, pressure in a fluid increases linearly with the depth. As the depth is increased, the pressure is increased. Variation of pressure with depth for gas. Okay, for small to moderate distances, the variation of pressure with the height is negligible for gases because of their low density. The pressure in a tank containing a gas, for example, can be considered to be uniform since the weight of the gas is too small to make a significant difference. Also, the pressure in a room filled with air can be assumed to be constant. You can see in the diagram, in the room or in the air, the room pressure air, pressure at top equal to 1 atmosphere and pressure at bottom equal to 1.006 atmosphere. Okay, that means the pressure at the bottom is more related to the pressure at top. Variation of pressure with depth. If we take point 1 to be at the free surface of liquid open to the atmosphere, where the pressure is the atmospheric pressure at P atom atmosphere, then the pressure at depth h from the free surface becomes. That means we are in for liquid, for taking considering point 1 and point 2. point 1 is at the surface level and point T at the depth of H. Then P is equal to P atmosphere plus rho GH, or P gauge equal to rho GH. Okay, in the diagram shows at point 1, that is at the surface level, P1 is equal to P atmosphere, and at the point 2, that is in the depth H, P2 is equal to P atmosphere plus rho GH. Liquids are essentially incompressible substances, and thus the variation of density with depth is negligible. This is also the case for gases when the elevation changes is not very large. Okay. For fluids whose density changes significantly with elevation, a relation for the variation of pressure with elevation can be written as dP by dZ equal to rho GH. The negative sign indicates that pressure decreases in upward direction. When the variation of density with elevation is known as pressure difference between point 1 and point 2 can be determined by integration, such as delta P is equal to P2 minus P1 equal to minus integration 1 to 2 in the limit rho G dZ. Okay, for this is for fluid. Variation of pressure with depth. Pressure is independent of the shape of the container. That means it doesn't matter the shape of the container for the result of pressure. Pressure is independent of the shape of the container. The pressure is the same at all points on a given horizontal plane in the same fluid. Okay, if the shape is different of the container, then it doesn't matter how much will be the pressure of at a specific point. It can be same at all points on a given horizontal plane, okay, in the same fluid. You can see in the diagram at different points A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, the pressure is same. Then application of Pascal law. This is the one of the most important experiment you can check. Two hydraulic cylinders of different areas could be connected, and the larger could be used to exert a proportionally greater force than that applied to the smaller. Noting that P1 is equal to P2 since both pistons are at the same level. You can see in the diagram that of different sizes, two hydraulic cylinders are connected with the larger. The larger could be used to exert a proportionally greater force. That means the greater force is applied on the second larger cylinder and the small area of point 1, and the second cylinder, hydraulic cylinder, is having more large area, and the greater pressure is applied on the greater cylinder, that is at the point 2. You can see in the diagram the both pistons are at the same level, okay, and the different forces are exerted on the different positions. The area ratio A2 by A1 is called the ideal mechanical advantage of the hydraulic lift. That is, application of Pascal law is equal to P1 is pressure, P1 is equal to P2. That is, F1 by A1 is equal to F2 by A2, or F2 by F1 is equal to E2 by A1. That means two hydraulic cylinders of the different areas could be connected, and the larger could be used to exert a proportionally greater force than the applied to the smaller. Then both the pistons are at the same level. This is the Pascal. Okay, so in this second chapter, fluid statics, we are going to discuss about the pressures related to the different gases, liquids, fluids, etc., and the variation of pressure at different depths. Okay, so Thank you very much. Thank you.